Hello, YouTube listeners. Thank you for joining me today. Just before I get started, I just wanted to provide a disclaimer. My voice isn't exactly cooperating today. I've got, it's a little scratchy, but I'm hoping I can make it through this recording. And let's get on with the case. Jonathan was known for his magnetic personality and keen wit. He loved his family and friends deeply. If you knew him, you also knew that Jonathan always did everything big, full throttle. He was taken from us far too early. This is a direct quote from Jonathan Cruz's obituary, and this is his story. Jonathan Cruz was a tall, good-looking 27-year-old in 2014 when he met a woman named Brenda Lazaro at Shaolin Wu Yi Martial Arts School in Coppell, Texas, where his mom, Pam, and his sister, Danielle, who was close friends with Brenda, were taking classes. He was quite taken by this dark-haired 26-year-old, and the feelings seemed mutual. Jonathan has been described as someone who falls hard and gives every relationship he's in his all, including money. True to form, Jonathan fell hard for Brenda, and the two began discussing marriage and having children, something they both wanted. Brenda had just ended a 4-year relationship right before meeting Jonathan. Jonathan Cruz was born in Newport Beach, California. His family later relocated to Irving, Texas. His mom, Pam, stayed at home with the 3 kids, and his dad was a pastor. Jonathan played the bass guitar, loved listening to Ozzy Osbourne and Green Day, and has been described as just a nice guy. Jonathan graduated from Carrollton Christian Academy and went on to earn a Bachelor of Arts degree in history from Baylor University in 2008. After college, he landed a job in an urgent care facility as the director of operations. This allowed Jonathan to get his own apartment where he lived alone for the first time in his life. Not much is known about Brenda's background, partly due to her not being very forthcoming about the events in her life. In other words, she makes things up. This is according to friends and acquaintances. She told stories about being kidnapped, witnessing a murder, and multiple pregnancies. Friends have revealed that Brenda is controlling and jealous of other women. This caused constant arguments between her and Jonathan regarding an ex-girlfriend of his and Emily, his good friend, and his best friend, Jacob's wife. Jonathan was growing tired of the constant arguing and of the chaos in his relationship with Brenda, and told his sister in a text that there are 4 ways he could handle this situation. One of those ways was to break up with her, which he planned on doing very soon. On February 2nd, 2014, Jonathan, Jacob, and Emily went to dinner at a local Mexican restaurant. Emily and Jonathan were good friends, and as friends do, they greet one another with a hug and depart with one too. Brenda witnessed this at a party one time, and it infuriated her, and she wouldn't let it go. While the 3 were sitting in the restaurant, Brenda called Jonathan. Jacob and Emily immediately knew it was Brenda because Jonathan was tense during the call. At one point, Jonathan handed the phone to Emily as Brenda wanted to talk to her. Jonathan and Jacob could hear Brenda as she was yelling at Emily through the phone, reprimanding her for hugging her boyfriend. This sent Emily crying to the bathroom. Jacob later stated that Emily is not a woman that is brought to tears easily. After dinner, Jonathan joined Emily and Jacob at their house for a Super Bowl party. Jacob and Emily described Jonathan as being sullen and not joining the others at the party. He left just around 10:30. Around 10:52, Jacob received a text from Jonathan stating that he wanted to kill himself. Emily texted him back to ask what was going on, but got no answer. It is believed now that Brenda sent that text message. The two tried calling Jonathan the next day and received no answer. At 11:30 that night, a 911 call came in to the dispatcher and began with, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." Not knowing what was happening on the other side of the phone, the dispatcher tried to calm the caller down. When asked where she was located, the caller's answer was, "At the apartment! Oh my God! No, no, no!" Having a difficult time understanding Brenda due to the language barrier and her high emotional state, he tries to calm her. 30 seconds into the call, the dispatcher asks Brenda what apartment she is in. After a little silence, she answers, 813. She repeats this several times. Brenda then proceeded to give the information that she is near the corner of Beltline Road and MacArthur Boulevard in Coppell. She does not know the name of the complex. Brenda pleads with the dispatcher, "Please, please, tell me what to do." About a minute in, she finally explains to the dispatcher why she called. "He's shooting himself on the heart and is dying right now." After asking her to calm down once again, she states, "He's dying. He shot himself." After a minute and a half into the call, the dispatcher assumed that maybe Brenda had just walked in on the scene, so he went on to ask her what it was she first saw when she arrived. She replied, "We were just having a discussion when we were talking. He just says that he loves me and I didn't believe him. He said he was going to prove that he loves me. I didn't know that he had a gun. I was at the foot of the bed and he told me to cover my ears. Then I heard the gun." After 3 minutes, the address still has not been given to the dispatcher. Brenda starts saying Jonathan over and over. The dispatcher asked Brenda if her boyfriend shot himself on purpose. "No," she answered. But she quickly changed her answer to, "Yeah, he did it on purpose." When asked where he shot himself, her response was, "I don't know. There's too much blood. I'm just pressing on it." 4 minutes into the call, the dispatcher asked her to go to the neighbor's house to get the address. Brenda said no, that she didn't want to leave him. 6 minutes into the call, she is told to go outside and knock on the neighbor's door. "Oh my God, I think he's dead." The dispatcher sternly tells her that he needs her to do what he said and do it now. 8 minutes in, and she finally finds a neighbor to ascertain the address and the name of the complex, River Chase Apartments. After giving this information to the dispatcher, Brenda was instructed to stay outside of the apartment. Instead, she reveals to the dispatcher, "He's dead." The paramedics finally arrived at 11:40, 10 minutes after the 911 call was made. They found Jonathan in his bed, slumped to his left side, with both arms extended, his blanket up to his waist. There was a gunshot wound to the left side of his chest. The gun that was used was his own 9mm gun. It was later determined that the bullet entered his chest, went through his liver, and exited onto the bed. Jonathan Cruz was dead. Jonathan's family was informed of his death by Brenda when she called Jonathan's sister Danielle and told her that he was dead and that he shot himself. The Cruz family rushed to Jonathan's apartment, and when the police told her Jonathan was shot in the body, Pam knew he did not do it to himself. Her first thought was that Brenda must have done it. The family told the officers on the scene that Jonathan had no history of depression and was happy with the way his life was going. He loved his new job and was excited to be living on his own. When Brenda was questioned later on at the police station about the events of that night, she explained that the two spent the night watching TV and eating Chinese food. Shortly afterward, they had a fight about Jonathan's friend Emily, the wife of his best friend, Jacob. This was the same story she told dispatchers. She insists that Jonathan killed himself. After Jonathan's death, his family stayed in contact with Brenda, even having her stay at their house. Brenda made plans to meet the family at their house so that they could all go to the viewing and the funeral together, but Brenda ended up not attending. After the funeral, Danielle, Jonathan's sister, received numerous text messages from Brenda criticizing the way the funeral was conducted. Offended that hers and Jonathan's love wasn't acknowledged, Danielle added that Brenda wanted the funeral to be about her, which was very selfish. Even though police have closed the case, they deemed solvable, and the medical examiner ruled that Jonathan's cause of death was undetermined. Jonathan's family and friends still fight for justice for Jonathan, hiring private investigator Sheila Wysocki, who doesn't believe it was a suicide, to look into the case. She pulled all of the police records and conducted computer experiments to prove that it was impossible for Jonathan to have shot himself. She theorizes that Brenda shot Jonathan in the heart because he broke hers. Jonathan's mom, Pam, revealed in an interview with the Daily Mail the shocking details uncovered by the family's own investigation and the litany of failures which led cops to conclude that there was not enough evidence to charge Brenda. Vital information that was withheld from the medical examiner, who ruled Jonathan's death undetermined. The witnesses never interviewed, and forensic tests deemed too expensive to conduct. She also added that Brenda has given conflicting accounts of what happened that night, and shockingly, she posed for a picture in a blood-streaked wedding dress just months after Jonathan's death. Pam further stated that we want to have the truth come out for Jonathan, who can't speak for himself anymore. It's bad enough that he's gone, but then to have lies about how it happened swirling around him, it just doesn't seem fair. The Cruz family filed a wrongful death suit against Brenda in 2017. The trial date continues to be pushed back. It could be as late as June of this year. Brenda Lazaro, 32, has not faced any charges in the death of Jonathan. She is now married with 2 children. A quote from Jonathan's obituary: "Jonathan is survived by his beloved dog pal, Ulysses." So I just wanted to talk about a few thoughts that I had after going through this case. It was very apparent to me that Jonathan was so loved by his friends and family, and that he seemed to have a fun, quirky personality. It came out that it took 3 alarm clocks to wake him up. He was such a deep sleeper. And it's just a real tragedy for the family. And I really hope they get some resolution for this soon. Also, this case reminded me a lot of the Jodi Arias case. If you're not familiar with that, it was a case a few years back where the young woman, Jodi, she was too a very jealous type, and she was involved with a man named Travis, who was loved. Everybody loved him, and she ended up murdering him viciously. That was a big case. So anyway, those are my thoughts, and I just want to thank you for joining me today on this video. Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification button, and I will see you in the next video.